Once upon a time, there was a woman named Jessica Jordan. And Jessica Jordan, she was known to have some wild adventures. And one of her adventures landed her in Alaska. And she was canoeing 800 miles down the Yukon River. Now, an unexpected wild adventure happened along the way when she was paddling the Yukon River. She found herself getting invited on a little bush plane. It was very exciting. And the pilot was going to fly a few kids downriver, quite a ways downriver. In fact, Jessica knew that in just a few weeks' time, she would be paddling down to that part of the river and making her way there. And now she gets to fly there on an unexpected flight on this little plane in the Alaskan wilderness. But before hopping in the plane, Jessica looks at the pilot, looks at her backpack, and remembers that she has a can of bear spray in there. And she looked at the pilot before hopping on the plane and said, "I have bear spray in my backpack. Should I leave it behind?" And he said, "No, it'll be okay. It'll be fine." They got on the plane, buckled up. He paused. The pilot paused. There were a couple kids in the plane. And he said, on second thought, if that bear spray goes off, we'll crash. Just why don't you toss it out?" So Jessica opened the door and tossed out her bear spray and said, "I'll be back for you in a few hours." And they fly downriver, and it's a beautiful, gorgeous view over the remote Alaskan forest, along the Yukon River, on this unexpected wild adventure up in the sky. After all, Jessica had been paddling for weeks and weeks and weeks. It was nice to have a different change of perspective. And they get to their destination, downriver. The kids unload, and now it's time to fly back. It's just Jessica and the pilot. And now that there's no more kids there, this pilot decides to turn this situation, how should I say it? He begins to just offload his insecurities and his doubts and his worries and the things that keeps him awake at night. And he just started sharing this to Jessica as she's sitting in the front seat with her headphones on and the microphone so they can hear and talk to each other. And he says, I've been married for almost a year now, and I've spent more days away from home from my wife than I have spent at home with her." And he says to her, "We didn't even have a honeymoon because I just work so much. I fly almost every day. And I work long 12-hour days, and sometimes I'm just gone for days at a time." He goes, "But I do love flying. It feels great up here." And the reason why he opened up to her is because he feels safe when he's flying. He's just away from it all the things on the ground that he doesn't want to deal with down there. The people, the conflict, the whatever it might be. And Jessica was a complete stranger to him, who will never meet anyone that he knows. That's a safe person to open up to. After all, she would be leaving and paddling down the river, never to be seen again by him. There was something that Jessica noticed and realized, but it wasn't until years later, that is directly tied to why he opened up to her. But before I share with you what that is, there was a moment when he looked at Jessica and said, I've been working 12 hours straight and I haven't taken my lunch break yet. And he said, Is it okay if I just teach you how to fly the plane real quick so I can eat my lunch? And with bewilderment, Jessica looked at him and said, "Sure." So he taught her how the foot pedals work and on the steering wheel, because there's a steering wheel on each side. Jessica was technically the co-pilot, but wasn't given a task until now. And since Jessica's down for adventures, she just willingly opened herself up for this experience. She said, "Sure, I can fly a plane." And so he taught her the controls and the steering wheel, and when you push it down and pull it up, and left and right, and the different foot pedals, and changing the elevation, and all this stuff. And then he points out into the distance, through the windshield, and he says to Jessica, "Do you see those two mountain peaks over there?" She said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Do you see the saddle in between? The part that's like a valley is the saddle?" She goes, "Yeah, I see that." Confused. And he goes, "You see that squashed bug on the windshield?" She goes, "Yeah," wondering to herself, where is this going? He goes, "Your job is to just keep that squashed bug in between the saddle of those two mountain peaks. Can you do that?" And not knowing if she could, she just said, "Sure, I can do that." And without hesitation, he unbuckled his seatbelt, got up, and just went to the back of the plane. And he goes, "All right, great, I'll just be back here eating my lunch." And now Jessica firmly grips the steering wheel, has her feet placed on the pedals, and cannot take her eyes off of that squashed bug on the windshield, and she ensures that it stays in the saddle between the mountain peaks. And she just does this for who knows how much time, but she's beginning to think he's really enjoying having a long lunch hour right now. Now, why did this man place so much trust in Jessica? With sharing his most insecure vulnerabilities? And then handing her off to just fly the plane? Well, it turns out, and this wasn't until over a decade later, that Jessica realized that one of the gifts that she has, and we all have them, every single one of us has very special gifts that we have to offer to others. And if you notice, it feels like we don't choose them, but we discover them through self-awareness. And Jessica discovered that one of her gifts is that men tend to easily and effortlessly open up to her about their strongest vulnerabilities and internal struggles that they've been wrestling with. Which was kind of strange when you think about Jessica's past history, because she didn't really know how to hold space for people. She would have very strong empathy, but the empathy would override her body into incredibly crippling emotions that would give her a freeze response. You can't really hold space for someone if you have a freeze response, and that was what Jessica's experience had primarily been. But in time, things got revealed to her in a way that feels like everything has been divinely orchestrated for her to be of service to men who are wanting to just heal and level up and step into their confidence and step into their solid, strong, healthy masculinity. And there's a subconscious knowing within all men that knows that in order to step into that, they must first surrender into feeling into their vulnerabilities being aware of it, having the courage to speak on it so that they can grow and heal beyond it and transcend the pain of whatever that is into them becoming a beacon of light. So solid, so strong, so confident, so courageous, so full of purpose, and becoming a hero to those in their own lives. And for some reason, it seems to be divine orchestration that Jessica plays a tool in some way, shape, or form to help men through this process. Jessica never would have thought to choose something like this for herself, but it just kept showing up in undeniable ways that weren't going away but only getting stronger. So Jessica decided to just fully embrace it and surrender to the gifts that have been given to her, even if it feels scary and requires courage. It's also the place where she feels absolutely incredible and empowered and full of purpose herself. And so sometimes the universe leaves us breadcrumbs of self-awareness or what's to come later. And this airplane experience for Jessica, where this pilot just opened up to her courageously and fully and openly, that was a breadcrumb. That was a breadcrumb from the universe. And Jessica was completely clueless to this. And in fact, she had zero introspection about the entire thing. She just thought it was badass she got to fly an airplane. But the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because I have a question for you. What breadcrumbs has the universe been leaving for you that perhaps you've had your blinders on and you're ready to remove them so that you can see the incredible gifts that you have inside of you? Step into that, embrace it, surrender to it. It will require courage. That's how you know you're doing it the right way. Because this is happening in your experience as well, but you may just not have had any awareness of it yet. So what awareness are you ready to open yourself up to now that involves your gifts that have been divinely given to you, probably ones you wouldn't have chosen, but when you choose to surrender to it and embrace it, then every essence of your being says, yes, this is what I would choose. I choose this. I choose this. And it takes a long time to get to that point because there's a tremendous amount of courage and transcending your own pain into something so much brighter and lighter as a part of the process. And we must go through that process in most cases in order to really fully embrace the gifts that have been given us so that we can use them in a way that's of service to others. And there are people in this world who are 100% ready for the gifts that you have within you. They are ready, they want them, they need them. They're ready, they want them, they need them. You have that within you. There are people in the world who are waiting for you to step up because of what you have in there. It will take courage. It will feel like the best thing you've ever done in your life. Put in the comment section below if you are aware of your breadcrumbs, or if you're aware of the entire loaf of bread and you know what your purpose is and you know what the gifts are inside of you. And you know what the gifts are inside of you. This is not about bragging. This is not about bragging. This is not about ego boosting. This is about self-awareness and the courage to act on your gifts. This is about self-awareness and the courage to act on your gifts. Put in the comments, I want to know what your gifts are. I want to know what your gifts are. You are absolutely amazing. And the more pain that you might be in right now, the stronger your gift will be on the other side. The strength of your pain will be equivalent to the strength of the gifts you are able to provide on the other side. Your pain is a gift to yourself and others, only when you choose to transcend the pain into your light. Comment, I want to hear from you.